Hi everyone. So I thought I'd take a minute and kind of show you guys a really quick hit, dirty way to write a nice little paper and implement all the little parts of a research paper that will really help you through the semester and the rest of your journey at the university and hopefully on to other greater adventures down the road in academic success. There's kind of some core parts to a paper that you guys should really have. And if you frame it out this way, it helps you really fill in the blanks. That's the way I like to write is I'll put them in myself and then I'll fill in the blanks. So we have always a title, which will pretty much come from your question. So don't write that at first, just put your name. The keywords are what you use to search in the library. This paper, I'm kind of doing it on project management, project charter specifically, and management theory. So those are the keywords I use. I put in and search to find the literature and books, journal articles, whatever pops up. And you should always look for and click on those searches for scholarly literature only, peer-reviewed literature particularly. That's journal articles that are wrote by doctorates or professionals in the field, and they have them reviewed by other professionals to say their research is worthy and it's truthful. Getting to the paper, there's kind of a couple core parts you want to do. Obviously, an introduction. You'll want to talk about what you're going to talk about. The purpose statement and the problem statement. The purpose statement and problem statement, I'm going to go over them real quick in a minute, are the core to it that leads to what your research question will be. And that's, something that's going to drive from the actual problem. The literature review is what you just said you're going to look at. Where did you get this information? Because we don't know anything. And until you're a doctorate, you should always cite someone because you don't know anything. Is what my professors always told me. You know nothing. So never write I. Use somebody else's words, which will use books like Schweibel's or Olson's or any of the literature. And I'll show you that in a second. But another section is the discussion. So what did you learn from reading? Here's what you're reading to understand what you're trying to answer. Here's what you can discuss about it, what it said. And then a conclusion. So let's look at these parts real fast and we'll go back up top. So for this one, in the introduction, and I just made up a paper real quick in my mind of what I'd be interested in looking into. And I said, over the past 100 years, the paradigm of management studies has navigated through many theories and philosophies. The paradox of the project management portrays the pointed changes or expressions and styles the struggles through to control labor issues and quality control. It's a kind of an introduction what I want to look at. I want to look at what project management is, where it came from, labor in there, and quality controls. Where did I get this idea? Well, it was one of the pieces I read, so I used this source. You'll notice I just have the author's last name, comma, and a year, and a period at the end in brackets. That's the way you appropriately write that. Now, your purpose is what you're going to say. What's your purpose for writing this paper? There's kind of three easy ways to say this. What's your purpose of the paper? Well, the first is usually because you're trying to learn. I always say is to comprehend, understand, define the dimensions of a project charter. We have to know what we're talking about. And I always state in there usually from the present literature or from a series of books. Then you want to say, well, how do you do this? Well, particularly this paper will seek to understand organizational charter scopes is what I really want to do. I want to understand from this stuff what a charter scope statement is. Okay. And the goal, the purpose of it is kind of really put in there. Well, it's kind of to create knowledge. And I'm going to review the literature. That's back to how I'm going to do it to create this idea and understand what project management is all about in the planning. I'll post this document too for you guys. The problem statement is simply that. State what the problem is or the issue. And when you read your literature and your books, you're going to see those scholars and those writers are going to state pretty clearly a problem. So we don't have to break the wheel. We're writing and learning right now, so we can state this, state the issue or problem. And that leads you to your research question, the RQ1. The goal of the paper will be to determine the central phenomena causing project management plan scope creep. So I probably read inside my stuff that there's a lot of things within scopes that cause a creep. So you want to know what that is, and you probably already defined that. If not, you're gonna. So you come up with a research question. You can say, well, can implementing a quality control theory, and here's a bunch of theories, reduce scope creep? Here's where you write what you wrote. So if you look at this, I always use a source, a scholar. Correct way to write it in APA style. Schweibel's, according to Schweibel, project management charters consist of 5 different key areas. And I just wrote 5. I'm just writing this quick. It could have 30, depending on what the scholar says. Each of them vary. You might say that according to the literature, multiple different scholars think there are different areas to project management charters. That's what you need to determine. That's what you're telling me here. You're learning what a charter is, what the different areas are. You'd probably want to cite them then. Say the charters have a mission statement. Some have core values. Define those things real quick. Go through. When you're writing, make sure if you quote, which you should be quoting, as soon as you're done, write in brackets a page number. Obviously, there's no 411 page in Schweibel's. It's all fictitious here, but just something to show you guys. Additionally, and here's one of the journal articles I grabbed real quick, and I write out all the references first in the authors, this APA style, and I say what they said about this, page number at the end, where I'm quoting or where I'm coming from. I like to throw it in there anyway, even though I don't direct quote, because it just adds power to saying, hey, I'm not plagiarizing, this is where my work came from. Then, on second reference, once you write it out first, it's just the first author, the lead author's last name, ETAL dot the date, and then you can go. And again, you'll see here I quoted, and then at the end I put a page number. That's how you'll do that as well. Or you can say continue saying the researches, and then you put ETAL, comma the year, comma the page number. Discussion is discuss what you learn. After reading the literature, the researcher observed multiple scholars stating closings are one of the most important parts of the charter. Okay, so that's what I kind of summarized right now, what I learned. I learned there's multiple areas. I also learned that all of the scholars agreed that the closing is one of the most important parts of a project management charter, because it gives what? Why? Well, it talks about how in a lot of your literature and your books, and why it's so important, because it builds a knowledge management database just for organizations to look at their own work, to understand their own issues, their own success strategies, their own problems, and to pull that in. And then you can probably say, because somewhere in there they're going to bring up in that closing idea, the reflection of theory they used. And you can say, as an example, blah, blah, blah organization used Six Sigma. A Motorola design engineering quality control theory. Describe what it is real quick and say why. What does it do? How does it do that? And it all reflects back, and it's, to what you're using up here as your literature. It's answering one, what is the actual purpose we define in the literature, and then in the discussion we come back down and use the same people. We don't have to get more. What they said again and why you're saying this. The problem statements answer real quick and clear inside of this, and you get to discuss it a little bit about the why aspect, but use the scholar's voices. Again, say Olson said this is a great idea. In the conclusion is where you kind of have a little bit of a voice. You're allowed to say, to further this paper, the researcher suggests a quantitative study on managers' thoughts, reflections, and resolutions to failed project control devices to determine blah, blah, blah. Or whatever you want to say. You can say that to further this paper and this research, I recommend you read 5 more books based on management theory, or you go over and only focus on one theory, or we only focus on theories in the last year. So this is something you want to think about. And then, of course, your references at the end. Well, if you notice, this is 2 pages, pretty much done. Little challenge question that I always ask you guys to do and how to answer it. So the quick hit parts again are introduction, the purpose, why you're writing this, the goal, how you're going to do it. The problem statement is, what's the issue with this? And you'll get that once you do a little bit of research to understand what you're reading. And you're putting that in your literature review or your book reviews. We call it literature in the scholarly world. And you want to just write out, what you're answering, what your purpose is. Well, I'm defining what's in the charter and defining what scope statement is first. That's how you do that, real simple. And then your discussion is what you learned. They found a problem. Here's why the problem happens. In discussion, the conclusion is simply what you think you should do next. Do another study. Read another book. That's where you get to be a little bit more of a freedom in writing. And then your references at the end. So theoretically, when I'm asking you guys to do these small little challenges and papers, you should be able to do it really quick hit. Clear sentences. Do it short and simple. Write it out. I like to map this out myself. I do the same thing. I'll just put the introduction, the purpose statement, and you guys can use this same kind of shell that I've offered to you guys. And I put the same things down for the questions. So then I write them underneath, and then when I get them, I just simply go back and I delete them out. And look, boom, boom, boom. You'll see my paper shorten up real quick to about one little page. Take these out. I don't need these again. Take out the extra spaces. Oops. Move that back. And we're just about at a page. So tighten it up just a little bit more. We could probably squeak it into a page and sneak it in there. And just by eliminating some of the spaces. So almost. We're almost there, but you get the point. So here's a little map on how to do this. I'll post this video for you guys, and I'll put this in the key documents areas along with this Word document. If you guys too could pop in Word documents for me when you upload, and a PDF, because a PDF allows me to see it on a DTL screen, but the Word document allows me to download. And if you guys download these, I'll make comments right on side your Word documents, and I'll send them back to you each week. And that way you guys have some clear notes from me as well. Have a great day, everyone. I hope this really helps you. I think after talking to a few of you, I think just the mapping out of how to make a better paper, what to do, and kind of frame it will really help you guys overall. Have a great day, everyone.